So what I wanted to do is walk you through this little tool that I created for analyzing SEC filing information. So here's the main menu. This is what I built over the last week. So basically, this is a list of disclosures here. You see there's 951 different disclosures. So this is not perfect yet. But basically, you can click on a disclosure, look at the disclosure, you get the general location in the taxonomy, or you can go to the specific location in the taxonomy by clicking that. You can find a disclosure, so say you want to look at asset retirement obligations. Click on that. I want to look at the roll forward. I look at the specific disclosure. There's that disclosure. So I can select that point in the hierarchy here, and I can put the information in the database. I can then go and edit that information. So I really don't want to look for that concept. And I don't need to look at that twice or that total. So these are the concepts I want to look for. And then I'm going to execute that query. You can't really see it. It's going through all 7,160 filings. It should take about a minute. I will edit out the time we're sitting here, perhaps. Maybe I'll just leave it in. But you can filter the companies that you go through. You could filter by the type of entity, partnership or corporation. You can filter by different levels of assets or any major category within the fundamental accounting concepts. You could filter by sector or by SIC code or by other types of filters. Okay, so now the query is finished. I click on OK. So there's some other things here, but I'm not going to go into that. I'll get right into. So I can. It takes a little bit of time to go and grab the information. So I'm going to filter this down to 25. I'm going to look at the 25 different occurrences of this. So I'm going to click that, and it's going to process. It's talking to the XBRL Cloud Web Service. So it found my 25 companies' disclosures of the asset retirement obligation, and there you can see it. So again, here you can look at the detail, look at the labels, look at the accounting standards codification references. You can filter this. I want to look at changes. So there's one example. That looks pretty good. There's another example. Likewise, that looks pretty good and consistent with the first. And there's another example. And here you see that they did pretty much the same things, and they added the current and non-current breakdown. You can also filter this by category, disclosure or statement, level, either detail or text block. There are no text blocks that I found, and I'm not going to explain that. And there you have it. This is a nice little way to find and look at different disclosures. Okay, so I thought I wanted to add a little bit more here. So I'm kind of focusing on the XBRL a little bit too much, because that's kind of what I'm looking for. But what I'm noticing here is that, so if you look at this, it's a little bit odd because of this extra period here, but that's a flaw in the rendering engine. This looks very readable, and it looks like what the disclosure would tend to look like in an actual report. So, and if you go and look at a number of these, you notice that this is pretty helpful information, whether you report in XBRL or not. So it's very handy because you can see how different reporting entities, there's the different entities, chose to report pretty much the same thing, an asset retirement obligation. So this is descriptive information about the concept that was reported. You can kind of ignore this if you're not doing XBRL. These references are useful, and you pretty much have the same information for 1,000 different disclosures, and I think that this is just very, very useful to not only SEC reporting entities or external reporting managers that want to figure out how people did a disclosure from the normal HTML or rendering perspective, but also from an XBRL perspective. You can look at the model structure, the taxonomy. You can look at the SEC view. You can look at the raw information. But even if you just use this rendering, this is very helpful information. And this is something that I created in Microsoft Access. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are programmers out there that are far better than me. I'm just experimenting. So anyway, I hope you can see what I'm trying to communicate. This is very useful in general to not just the 10,000 external reporting managers or SEC filers, but the 300,000 or 400,000 or 500,000 accountants that are out there that create financial statements for private companies.